Alright, I'm back everyone. College is over. I'm done for the semester. Got the summer, you know. So here I am. Got more time, and here I am to keep my promise. Um, so this is going to be the Valkyrie class guide. This will be the start of my class guide series. Um, I did notice as I reviewed this video that it's a little hard to hear me in the recording. So in the future, I will do the recording differently, but I'm just gonna kind of edit and kind of make do with what I have for this video in particular because I was not about to re-record a 30-minute session. So yeah, y'all gonna have to bear with me. I do understand that it's a little bit hard to hear what I'm saying at times throughout this video. So there's also a visual that I have at the end of the video that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to kind of like briefly go back over um, what I talked about in the video with using visuals at the end of the video. So if you watch it through, watch it till the end. If you have a hard time hearing me, hopefully you can kind of get the gist of it at the end using the pictures and stuff that I have. So I hope that helps. I'm gonna have visuals, demonstrations, and yeah. Um, Disclaimer: these class guides are not advertised as guaranteed to make you number one at whatever class it is on the server. These are designed to give you like this is the best knowledge that I have. I'm going to give it to you. That way you can have like a building block, and then you can take it and work with it, change it, and explore from there. Because now this applies to the healers and tanks as well, but it mainly applies to DPS. What makes really good DPS players is they're always trying something new, trying to figure out what works best. That way they can maximize their damage, and you're always looking for new things. Stuff's always changing. So like there could be a there could be a class balance next update, and it could void everything. Like everything I talk about could no longer be viable. So this is just to give you a building block to start off of, and then you have to be able to adapt and change from this in order to keep getting better, and that's how you stay ahead of the game and you become one of the better DPS on the server. Um, this entire video is like 30 something minutes long, and there's not a single video of me running a dungeon. This is me only in the training ground, and I didn't even break any of the healer crystals. Okay, so I'm not even rocking healer buffs. I literally just have a battle solution on, because the objective of this video is to just show y'all what you need to know. Is talking builds, glyphs, and the rotations. This is just giving you the knowledge. This is not me flexing my numbers like, hey, I'm better than you. No, I'm not. I don't even run a dungeon in this video. This is just me giving y'all the information so that y'all can take it, use it, and build from it. If you watch this video and it increases your damage, like you see your damage numbers go up, leave a comment and let people know, hey, this stuff works. Or if your numbers go down, leave a comment, and that way I can, maybe you have something that's better than this, and I would 100% love to hear it. If you've got better information, if there's a way that I can get better, I would love to hear that. So if your damage numbers go up or if they go down, let us know in the comments. Let me know, let everybody else know, like, hey, this stuff works, hey, it doesn't work, there's something better. you know I I'm down for everything. So kind of help me help y'all. The comments will really, the comment section for this type of video is really going to be important. Um, so, oh yeah, shameless plug. It's summer. I'm out of college. I'm gonna be on a bit more. Um, I am on North American server PlayStation. My guild is called Quick and Dead. It's like level 98 or 99. I'm going to be looking for, new people to invite and run with. My minimum requirements are that you are item level 457 at least. And you have to, if you're a DPS, you have to send me a screenshot of how long it took you to kill the crab in the training ground without without using a slaying crystal. So buffs and healer buffs and everything, but you have to be full health. You have to send me a screenshot of how long it took you, and then I will judge that based off certain criteria, um, and we'll go from there. So if you're on Xbox and you wanna run with me, um, obviously I have Discord, so you can reach out to me through Discord, and we can still try to like organize runs, get you in runs, even if you're not on PlayStation. I'm all for cross-platform. I understand it's a little bit difficult. People don't like to do with that, but I like using Discord. I think Discord's a fun app. Um, and so yeah, if you're on Xbox and you really want to run, then just hit me up on Discord, and I will do what I can. I will work with Xbox players, but just know that I am on PlayStation, and this is the North American server. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna let this video carry over, and then I'm gonna kind of edit back in at the end to go over the visuals. So yeah. Alright guys, here it is, Valkyrie. I have mained Valkyrie on Tera console since it released, which was either 4 years ago or a little bit under, considering the 5th anniversary just passed. And yeah, this has like been my main. So I'm not necessarily promising that what I'm about to tell you will make you #1 Valk on the server or anything like that, but my objective is just to kind of set you off on the right foot so that you can kind of you can kind of build off of it from there. And I'm just kind of letting you know that of all of the class guides, this is definitely going to be the most reliable one that I can provide to y'all, because I live, breathe, and sleep Valkyrie. So first thing we're going to do is let's go over build. So my build, I'm running full pump jewelry. As you can see, I have power, 2 power rings, 2 power earrings, a power necklace. The brooch is the brooch. So the stats on the jewelry, I'm running crit power by 0.04 and increased power by 4 on both rings. It's the same on both rings. You can see I'm running pumped 4 etchings on my rings as well as powerful virus green crystals, which gives me power from the green crystal as well. My earrings, I'm running endurance 4, raise max HP by 4%. You can see another pumped etching, and all of my jewelry has powerful greens. Valk is basically full power, pretty much. Circlet, I personally run the improved Mistle Circlet for the 5% increased apex damage. This one is a little bit debatable, as far as I know a lot of higher ranking Valks like to debate about either this one or the Transcendent Circlet on which is better. I just rock with this one personally. I do not discourage trying new things. If you want to try the other circlet, be my guest. I'm just letting you know that this is what I run. My Bahar mask, I run a powerful Bahar mask. You can see my rolls right there. Power by 6, crit factor by 5, power by 3, power by 2. Bracelet, currently a +1 bracelet. My gear, chest piece. You can see my rolls right there. Generate an additional 15 Ragnarok points after a successful hit, and then you can read the rest of it. This is all just kind of like standard rolls. Gloves, oh yeah, etching. I do have a pumped etching on my chest piece. If you're not high enough level where you can obtain that yet, run the, I believe grounded is the endurance etching, if I remember correctly. If you can't get pumped etchings for your chest, then endurance is the other alternative. Gloves, running energetic 4 etching. You can see my stat rolls right there. I mean, it's just gloves. Boots, I'm running a pumped etching on my boots. If you don't have that, run endurance. And you can see my rolls right there. Belt, split rolls on my belt, which is power by 3 and crit factor by 6. Pumped etching on my belt. You can see my powerful innerwear right there. 16 power. Yeah. My weapon, I run full damage lines. Don't run any CDR. I run 2 9.3 enrage rolls, damage by 6%, crit power by 0.3, and increased damage by 6.9% when attacking from behind. If you insist on running 1 cooldown roll, then sacrifice the increased damage by 6% roll. Do not, if you're going to sacrifice one of these rolls to run one of the cooldown lines and you feel that's better, sacrifice the 6% one if you choose to do so. Energetic etching on my weapon. My crystals are just pounding bitter focus savage, nothing special there. So as far as like my actual stats go, I'm sitting at plus 77 crit factor, which I believe if you're like base frost metal and you run a full pump jewelry set, you're probably somewhere around like plus 46 crit factor, something like that. So the crit factor that I have is going to be coming from mainly my bracelet, which is plus 26 crit factor, and then I'm running split rolls on my brooch as well as my belt, and there's 5 crit factor from the Bahar mask. So that's where that extra crit factor is coming from. 77 is, I like where I'm at. Like, even this is what I run even in the highest dungeons, like Rampaging Arcane 9, Skynest normal, Skynest hard. I'm running plus 77 crit factor. Now, to be fair, I do try to run a food buff that increases my crit factor when I go into those dungeons if possible, but I don't really like sweat if I don't have one. Like 77 is what I run, and it works just fine for me as far as like stuff critting even in the hardest dungeons. So like I said, if you're just starting out at frost metal and you run a full pump jewelry set, you're probably going to be sitting at like plus 46 crit factor. Don't sweat about trying to hit the plus 77. It's just going to kind of come to you as you upgrade your gear if you're on the lower end, if you're just starting. As you kind of upgrade your gear, you get more gear. It's just going to kind of come to you. So don't really worry about that too much. Make sure you get that full power build first. Next, I'll show y'all my Stigmas. I'm running full attack Stigmas. You can see attack. Those are to like upgrade. But as far as like what I have equipped, all the ones I have equipped are attacked. I don't have any soul lines. I don't have any soul Stigmas, no CDR lines. All of these are trying to get all damage lines. This is what I run personally. You know, some people might say, oh, run 1 or 2 souls. Me personally, I'm running full attack. You can see it right here. No, nothing really fancy here. Just full attack, as much damage increase as possible. Next, we'll go to skill glyphs. Because I can't show you rotations. Well, I mean I can, but your rotations are probably not going to work the same if you're not running the same glyphs because of cooldowns and all that whatnot. So, if you notice, I have 63 total glyph points available with 2 unused. So I'm utilizing 61 glyph points. So if you're like newer, or at least your character is new, and you don't have as many glyph points, just kind of take note of that. You know, I have little on the little few extra glyph points. So glyphs that I run, I have increased skill damage by 40% on Glaive Strike. Maelstrom, I run all the glyphs. If you are short on glyph points, then get rid of the HP one. But I just like to have it. I have the extra points, and I like to have it because, you know, running with random people, can't always trust your healer. This helps keep me alive a lot when I'm running with random groups. If I'm running with a static group, then, you know, I'll remove this and put it somewhere else. But for all intents and purposes, yeah, just all of them on Maelstrom. Spinning Death. This one right here, increased chance to crit by 1.3 times for 30 seconds. This is a very, very, very important glyph. And yeah, so I'm assuming that, like, I'm not gonna read the skill descriptions. You know, I would assume that you, like, no matter how new you are, I would assume that you at least read your skill descriptions and know what they do. So I'm not gonna go through that. That's a waste of time. I have speed casting by 20% on Dream Slash. I have decreased cooldown and increased skill damage on Shining Crescent. The one and only increased duration on Ragnarok. Blood Flower, additional 5 Ragnarok points. Evasion, eliminates the cooldown of Blood Flower after perfect evasion. Rune Burst, both glyphs on Rune Burst. I have decreased cooldown on Baldur's Tears. That's a little more advanced. We'll get into that later. And both glyphs on Gungear's Bite. And increased damage on God's Fall. And those are my glyphs. So, I'm not really gonna... I don't really want to spend time, like, explaining why I run certain glyphs. It's just kind of like quick, showing y'all this is what I do. If you're a little more advanced, if you've been playing Valk a little bit longer and you want to know, like, why I do things a certain way, you want to try to, like, you know, get into a little more advanced stuff, you can message me on Discord or PlayStation or something, and, you know, we can talk about that, you know. So, alright, rotations. First thing we're gonna do is show y'all, or attempt to show y'all, the God's Fall rotation, because that's your opening burn, most important part, you know. That's going to be the first thing you do. Anyway, so that's what we're going to show you first. So the way I start the fight, now obviously this is the training ground, so I have to hit this guy to, you know, activate him or whatever. But I always start a fight with backstab and spinning death right off the bat to get that crit buff up. I don't care. I know some Valks, like, depending on if they're running with Mystic or Priest, you know, they'll choose to either do it or not. I don't care what healer I'm running with, I always do spinning death first. It's always backstab, spinning death. Okay, so a little bit of explanation there. I'm gonna, like, this is kind of like for new people and experienced people, like, you know, I'll have some advanced stuff later, but I'm also spelling everything out so there's no confusion. So, backstab, spinning death, mouse on, spinning gear, that's the initial opening. So after that, that's like the very first thing I do. And we're gonna pop God's Fall and Growth at the same time. Outcome, spinning gear, crescent, Twilight, crescent, Twilight, spinning gear, crescent, finish Twilight, outcome, spinning gear, Calamity Flag, crescent, spinning gear, Twilight, crescent, Twilight, spinning gear, crescent, finish Twilight, outcome, spinning gear, throw in a little leaping flash, waiting on that cooldown for that crescent to get that light. So I tried to go slow, like, that way y'all could, I tried to, like, you know, name off the skills I was using. You know, being a YouTube video, you can slow it down, pause it, you know, do whatever you need to do, you know, to kind of, you know, figure out what I was doing. Obviously you're going to be doing it faster in real time. So, overall, as a whole, that should have been 7 Shining Crescents. And know that, now, when I say 7, I mean, like, I'm only counting both hits, both detonations of Shining Crescent is 1 crescent. And when we're talking Valk, you know, 1 crescent is both hits. Like, there's no reason to not do both hits.
Okay, so that's what I mean. So that was 7 Shining Crescents. That is the basic. That's the basic God's Fall rotation. That is the minimum you should be doing. This is 7 Crescents. Unless something goes horribly wrong, you know, the boss does a mech and it forces you away from him or something, you should at least be getting 7 Shining Crescents. I did not use my beer. I did use my brooch, but everybody has a brooch. Even Frost Metal people have a brooch. I did use my beer. I didn't even hit any of the healer buff crystals on the back. If you look at my buff bar, I don't have any healer buffs, nothing. That was raw, just a battle solution. 7 is the absolute minimum. When you're running with, typically when you're running with a priest and a lancer, if they're doing the job correctly, you can get 8. And that 8th one is going to be like after you finish the first Twilight Waltz. Before you do Calamity Strike, you'll do a Maelstrom and a Crescent before you do Calamity Strike, and then you're gonna do another Maelstrom and a Gungear and a Crescent after, and then you're gonna continue on through your Twilight Waltz and finish. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, you probably understood what I said. If you're brand new, that probably went right through your head, but that's okay. You know, we can work on that later. So, I'm about to get my cooldown back, and I'm going to run through God's Fall again at full speed. I'm still not going to use my beer or anything, but I'm going to do it at full speed, so y'all can kind of see what it's supposed to look like, without kind of like naming it off, you know. I'm just kind of standing around here for a second. Just chilling. I guess we can go ahead and start it from the top. So say this is just starting the fight. So back what I showed y'all, what it looks like. I mean, that was still awfully slow because, again, no healer buffs, no nothing, you know, nothing like that. It's going to be way faster if you're in an actual dungeon. But for all intents and purposes, that was full speed. So, that was your opening burn. What do you do after the opening burn? So, obviously, you know, after you use God's Fall, then you're down to Rag. I'll talk about Rag in a minute. But you have to get Rag before you can use it, right? So, what are you doing in your downtime between God's Fall and Rag? So, what I'm doing is I'm working off a priority list. There's not a set rotation that you do. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how I want to go through this first. So, I'll do the simple part first. I'm working on rotation. So obviously, there's priorities in it. So, number 1 priority is obviously going to be Maelstrom, Gungear, Crescent. If you're brand new, if your cooldowns get out of whack and you get Maelstrom back or Crescent back before the other, if you're brand new, then it's okay to just kind of wait around and save one or the other until the other one comes off cooldown. That way you make sure you get these things together. If you've been playing Valk a little bit longer, you know, you have to make that judgment call on, is it worth it to go ahead and use one without the other, you know, and it's obviously going to be situational dependent. So, the Crescent combo is number 1 priority, followed by Blaze Strike. Blaze Strike is a relatively high damage dealing filler. Green Flash is also a higher priority. And also, don't ever forget the Spinning Death buff. It lasts for 30 seconds. Now, if you have the buff up, try not to use Spinning Death. It doesn't like the crit too much. It doesn't do an outstanding amount of damage, and it takes a decent amount of time to get all 3 hits off compared to like just bam bam something like this. So avoid spinning death unless you're either using it for movement or reapplying the buff. If you got the buff up and you don't really need to move, try not to use spinning death unless everything else is on cooldown. So that's really, you prioritize, you just kind of work with your priorities. You know, you're focusing Crescent, Blaze Strike, Dream Slash, and it's really just a matter of resetting your Legion Slash. Which, if you read the skill descriptions, you'll know what it is to do that. And obviously, you're building, you know, that's kind of common sense, I would think. So that's kind of like the simple, just continuing attacking. There's not really a set rotation. It's just working off of priorities if you're not in Rag and you're not in God's Fall. Now, what you should be doing is getting perfect evasions and farming Rag. So you hear the term, if you talk with a lot of Valk mains, you're gonna hear the term farming Rag. What does that mean? That means you are purposefully putting yourself in danger to get perfect evasions in order to reset your blood flower and just shoot your Rag bar up like this. You can see how much it goes up. You know, it's just astronomical. Like, nothing compares building the Rag bar compared to getting perfect evasion and resetting your blood flower. Your #1 Rag generating skill. Resetting your skill. Now this is fairly advanced. This is where the skill comes in the Valkyrie. I can teach y'all the build and the burn rotations, but what sets good Valkyries apart is their ability to farm Rag extremely fast without actually getting hurt, without messing up their team while doing so, and just being able to get Rag super fast. At a minimum, you should have Rag back every enrage. If not, some really good Valks will get Rag back, use it, and then get it back again before enrage comes back. It depends on the group, depends on the fight, how long of a fight it is, how hard of a dungeon. There's a lot of factors that come into that, but at the least, if you're doing everything correctly, you should have Rag back for every single enrage. Now, the thing about this training crab here is he is a little fat, so if you're in the back, you notice I can't really like high frame in the front all the way to get that proc. So on fatter bosses like this, you have to be able to work around using movement skills like that. You see how I moved around him with spinning death, but I'm still hitting him along the way, still doing a little bit of damage, and that puts me in the front. So now I can, you know, dodge his attacks, get those blood fly resets, and also if you read your skill descriptions, you'll know that your dash allows you to do back damage from anywhere for basically 5 seconds. 5 seconds. So if you're coming up to the front, especially on fatter bosses where you can't just iframe in front and iframe back, you're going to want to make sure you utilize your dash to make sure you're still doing decent damage in the front, and obviously you get no free like that. Again, this is more advanced. This is where the skill comes into this class. Skinnier bosses, you know, you'll try to time it. You'll pay attention to their forward attacks, and you'll time jumping in front of them, you know, and then backstep back and do it. And also, remember, you have to keep in mind that you have to have iframes to dodge actual attacks. Make sure you have movement left to do mechanics. It's not easy, okay? You know, Valk mains, you know, you live, breathe, and sleep it. It seems like child's play, but for people that are brand new that don't play this class, this is like where the skill comes in. So we have our Rag bar. You know, we've got regular Ragnarok back. So what do we do once we have Rag? So obviously make sure You know, if you have Crescent up, go ahead and use it before you activate it, because once you activate it, you're gonna reset it. So that's gonna be the first thing you do. Now, if Twilight Waltz is up, you're gonna go ahead and run through the Twilight Waltz building. Getting the Crescent and the gun gear and all that. After that, it's basically Rune Burst, and you build your runes back up. Crescent, build your runes back up, Rune Burst. So it's basically, if Twilight Waltz is not up, or if you've already used it, Rag is just cycling through Rune Burst, Crescent, Rune Burst, Crescent, Rune Burst, Crescent. Like, basically it. When you get higher level gear, you get more attack speed, and all that, and extra buffs and all that whatnot. You start to be able to fill in a little bit more skills besides, like, you know, just the Rune Burst and the Crescent. You can get like a Rune Burst and like 2, 3 more, or 5 more hits, and then a Crescent, some shit like that. I don't know. But at its simplest core, you're basically, when you're in Rag, you're alternating between doing the Crescent and Rune Burst, and then using Twilight Waltz in the play. If you're a newer player, and you know Twilight Waltz is on cooldown while you're in Rag, and then it comes off cooldown, but you're not in Rag, then if you're new, then it's okay to save Twilight Waltz until you have Rag, just to make sure that you're doing the damage, you're doing some damage. That's the goal of this video, is to make sure you're doing some damage. If you're a little bit more advanced, you can make that judgment call whether to go ahead and use Twilight Waltz. Say you used Rag on the non-enrage, and Twilight Waltz is on cooldown, and then right after you come out of Rag, the boss enrages, and Twilight Waltz is up, but you're not in Rag, then, you know, I would personally just go ahead and use Twilight Waltz, because he's enraged. Blah, 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 blah. That's a little bit more advanced. You know, if you've been playing Valkyrie a little bit longer, you get to make those judgment calls like that. If you're new, then you know, it's okay to kind of save Twilight Waltz for when you get Ragnarok back, to just, like, again, make sure that you're doing the damage. You're doing something and not nothing, you know. Because you don't really want to waste Twilight Waltz on a non-enraged phase. So that was the burn, and the in-between, and the Rag, you know. So, I remember the Glyph for the CDR on Baldur's Gate. When you get into higher level dungeons, Baldur's Tears, if you read the skill description, is a damage mitigation skill. So Baldur's Tears is going to allow you to cheese mechanics and just, you know, cheat on them. You know, you can eat them when you should have died. You know, I guess I'm using a lot of slang here, so I apologize if you're new and you don't really know what I'm talking about. But basically, Baldur's Tears allows you to survive stuff that you should have died to. Obviously, having the cooldown on that allows me to get it back faster, and I can cheat on more mechanics. That way, I don't stop DPS. I can continue to DPS without getting hurt too much, without putting too much of a strain on my healer, etc., etc. Situations dependent. Every situation is different. You have to make judgment calls. That's why I feel that's a little more advanced. You know, even if you're new, I would go ahead and put those glitch points there. That way you're not juggling points around trying to figure out what to move, what to change when you, like, level up your gear. But at the end of the day, I'm not telling you how to play your class. This is what I do. I like what I do. It works. I'm not going to say that I'm #1 Valkyrie or anything, but I am definitely an above average Valkyrie player on this server. This is what I do. This is my build, you know. And if you're a good DPS are always playing. They're always changing their stat rolls. They're always playing with stuff, trying to figure out what works, trying new stuff, figure out what works, what doesn't work. And you're always trying to improve. That's what makes a really good DPS player, somebody that's always trying to, like, actively get better. So this is like to give y'all a building block and then y'all can take this and run wild with it, you know, change stuff. Like if you think something works better, change it, try it, see if it works better or if it doesn't, you know. I'm trying to, this is just like to give y'all a base, you know, so that's that. I don't really talk about food buffs. I mean, that's like some kind of advanced stuff. This is like, I mean, obviously I talked about a few advanced things here, but it's also it's supposed to be new player friendly. So if you've been playing Valk a little bit longer and you want to have a discussion about like food buffs and you know, message me. Or if y'all think I should do like a separate video that's like dedicated to more advanced stuff, you know, you can kind of, you know, leave a comment, you know, if you think I should do that. So I think this is pretty much it for now. I'm gonna cut this here and obviously do my editing magic and see what I come up with as far as the actual video goes. So I'll see y'all later.
So here is the visuals that I was talking about here towards the end of the video. This is kind of, these emojis were used through the Valkyrie Discord for a PC, and I just kind of threw this together to give y'all like a picture reference of the skills I'm using, when to use them, what order I use them. So I'm just gonna kind of read through this, and hopefully, you know, these pictures help y'all. So as you can see, I got the beginning of the fight with the backstab, the spinning deaths, and the little Maelstrom gun gear crescent combo. That's what you do at the very beginning of the fight. And then I have the basic 7 crescent God's Fall rotation typed out there in picture form. So you can see those skill pictures and you can follow them. You know, this is a YouTube video, so pause it, screenshot it, whatever you need to do. That way, they help you learn the rotation. So, in a simplistic form, the God's Fall rotation is basically a Twilight Waltz rotation with Calamity Strike in the middle, followed by another Twilight Waltz rotation. So, if God's Fall, because I've helped try to teach Valkyries before, like individual people personally, and it usually takes them a couple days to a week to get the God's Fall rotation down. And one of the things I've learned over time teaching people is that the best way to learn God's Fall is to break it down and look at the Twilight Waltz rota first. Like, get the Twilight Waltz rotation down. Like, just do the Maelstroms, the Gun Gears, the Crescents, and the Twilight Waltz. Do that first. Get that down pat. Then you can, like, insert God's Fall, like the dive, and then you can do another Twilight Waltz rotation, and that should make it a lot easier if you can get the Twilight Waltz, because Twilight Waltz is obviously a shorter rotation. So get that rotation down first, and then try to do the God's Fall rotation. So after God's Fall, obviously you want to farm Rag as much as possible, and get those perfect evasions, build that Rag bar as fast as possible. If you know, if your iframe is on cooldown, if your dodge is on cooldown, then obviously you don't want to be just standing around, so you're going to be attacking. You're attacking, there's not an attack rotation for Valkyrie outside of God's Fall or Ragnarok. It's based off of a priority list. Obviously your number 1 priority is going to be the Shining Crescent combo, followed by Glaive Strike is your highest damage dealing filler, followed by Dream Slash, and then after those, if those skills are on cooldown, then basically you're just using Leaping Slash and any skill that resets the cooldown of Leaping Slash so that you can use it again. And those are your priorities. They are in that order. So Crescent is number 1 priority, followed by Glaive Strike, Dream Slash, and then Leaping Slash and anything that resets it. Obviously, you're going to be building Rune Burst, and you're going to be using Rune Burst as soon as you're able to. 7 runes. Don't ever detonate Rune Burst prematurely. It's a major damage loss. Make sure you have all 7 runes, and use Rune Burst as soon as you get it. As soon as you build it up, detonate it. Spinning Death. like I talked about in the video, make sure that you have the buff up, but after that, don't really use it because it takes too much time to use unless you're using it for movement or there's literally nothing else to use. Everything's on cooldown. That's usually very rare. So yeah, for the most part, once the buff is up, avoid spinning death until you have to reapply the buff. And then you have the two different Ragnarok rotations. So you have the Ragnarok rotation if Twilight Waltz is up, which basically you're just gonna use Twilight. You're just gonna do the Twilight Waltz rotation inside of Ragnarok as soon as you pop it, and then once that is over, you're gonna be building a rune burst, detonating it, and then doing Shining Crescent. You're just gonna alternate between rune bursting and using your crescent until Ragnarok is up. Then you have Twilight Waltz is on cooldown, and you have Ragnarok. So you basically you just don't use Twilight Waltz inside Rag. There's no Twilight Waltz to use. So all you're doing is alternating the Shining Crescent combo and Rune Burst, which I laid out. I typed out in skill pictures what I do. So there's your Crescent combo, followed by Leaping Slash, Glaive Strike, Gun Gear, another Leaping Slash, detonate your Rune Burst. By that point, your Crescent combo skills are going to be off cooldown, or they should be, or a little bit close, whatever. And you're just going to do Crescent again. And that's all you do. You just alternate between those two for the entire time that Ragnarok is up. Then once it runs out, then you're right back to farming Rag and working off that priority list. So this little like image here is basically just a summary of everything I talked about in the video. And I really hope this helps y'all get better. Yeah. Good luck to y'all.